Hey, that's my boat. About a year ago, well, right before summer last year, I embarked on a little journey here to do more than just be able to drive my boat, but actually become a U.S. certified, Coast Guard certified boat captain. I'm waiting I gotta go check the mail because any day now my credentials are gonna come in the mail and I'm gonna show them to you when they come here. But I can tell you something, getting to this point was not easy. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work because you have to study and take a test and fill out a bunch of paperwork. And I'm not the smartest box of chocolates. But what? It's Forrest Gump. Isn't that what he says in the movie? I'm pretty sure he is. Anyway, if you're interested in learning how to become a boat captain, I'm going to take you on a little tour of what it took for me to get to the point where I'm going to be able to show you my credentials any day now when they come in the mail. And all the steps I had to take to get there. And I'll show you some of the tips and tricks that probably would make your life a lot easier if you decide to do this. It won't take you quite a year to get there, as it did me. Come on, let's go. All right, so what we're talking about here is getting our operator of uninspected passenger vessels, our OUPV, six-pack captain's license, our U.S. Coast Guard certified merchant mariner's credentials. In other words, a six-pack license. A six-pack means that I'm allowed to take 6 paying customers out on my boat along with crew, and we can go have a good time as soon as I get my credentials in the mail, which is coming any day now. So what I want to do in this video is walk you through the process of what I needed to do to get to this point where I'm standing by my mailbox waiting for it to come, and all the little things that go into it. And I'm also going to break down the cost so you can see how much it costs to get here, because surprisingly, spoiler alert, it actually costs a little bit more than I thought. All those little things start to add up after a while. I was like, whoa, hold on a second. So hopefully I can start charging, my wife and her friends to go on the boat when I take them down to the sandbar. It's like, I gotta pay for this somehow. All right, come on, let's go take a look at everything and what it took to get here. The first thing you will need to do is pass a U.S. Coast Guard approved OUPV 6-pack course. And with that course, you'll need to take an exam, and with that exam, you'll need to pass in order to get your license started. So there are 4 sections to it, and I'll go over each one of these in details, but there's rules of the road, there's deck general, there's navigation general, and then there's chart plotting, which is a lot of fun. So you can take these classes online, you can take them in person. I decided to go with the Mariners Learning System. Now, Mariners Learning System is an online course with all the reading online as well as videos, which is what I really liked about it. And you can also purchase the books. As you can see here, I did purchase the books and I would highly recommend it. Now, the first section is the rules of the road. This is a really complicated section. For example, you need to know, looking at this picture here, what these little symbols mean as they are displayed on a boat. And you also need to know what these lights mean as they are displayed on the boat. And these lights and those lights. And as you can see, it can be very complicated to learn all these things. But I did do a few tricks that I think helped me out. And let me show you one right here. This right here is a trawling boat. And there is the symbol of the triangle, 2 triangles together with the apexes together. To me, that looked like a little fish. So I always thought to myself, I can remember that it's engaged in fishing or trawling if it has its symbol. Another thing I did was I made myself flashcards. So you can see on the back, this is a vessel not under command, making way. And here is another vessel with the same markings. So what's the difference? Well, this is also not under command, but not making way. And you're like, whoa, what do you mean? They look exactly the same. Yes, they do. But look, if you look here, you will notice they have their side lights on, which means they're making way. But they're not even under command. This gets crazy. So it really helps to make some flashcards. Trust me on that. You can see I've got a lot. Because look how many different, and this is just the symbols and the lights, right? We got to go into sounds, we've got to go into buoys, we've got to know a lot about navigation. The rules of the road is a tough section. And on top of that, you have to get a 90 to pass that section. So you really got to study. The next section is called Deck General. A lot of it has to deal with emergency procedures, what to do in case of a fire, understanding different types of fires and fire prevention, how to handle pollution, what if there's an oil spill, pollution prevention, things like that. There's also a section on here on how to tie up a boat, learning different knots, which knot is strongest, which knot is used for which type of situation. And a lot of it is common sense, and you only need a 70 to pass this section, so that's good news right there. The third section is Navigation General, And this is a lot of interesting things in here as well. There is everything from knowing the weather, to knowing the compass rose, to knowing the different publications, the light lists. Now, you only need a 70 to pass this section, but these questions can be tricky. Like, look at this one. This says, the whistle signal for a vessel operating a stern propulsion is 1 long blast, 1 prolonged blast, 3 short blasts. Well, luckily, the answer is 3 short blasts. But look at A. There's no such thing as 1 long blast. But you might think, I'm going to blast for 3 or 4 seconds. That's a long blast, right? You'd be wrong. So you've got to pay attention. Okay, section 4 is chart plotting, and you're actually going to need a chart, and they give you one through the Mariners Learning System, and they also sent me these parallel rules, pencils, erasers, sharpeners, so I got a lot of nice stuff, but I need it all because you've got to be able to find longitudes and latitudes and find things on the chart. And I will tell you something, you will use this chart a lot. Look at this right here. I put it to good use, trying to learn all these different things. There are math problems, formulas, converting to military time. You need to learn all this. Learning the compass rose, the inside and the outside of that compass rose, just a lot of detailed stuff that goes on. And you need to be able to find information in the light list sometimes as well, because they won't always tell you where stuff is. Sometimes the questions will be like, what's the distance between one set of coordinates to a particular inlet? Only they won't tell you where the inlet is. They'll just tell you the name of the inlet. So you've got to go to the light list and find the reference number. And once you find the reference number, you have to turn to the light list and find hopefully a buoy or some kind of thing there that has coordinates. And once you find those coordinates, you better write them down because you're going to forget by the time you get back to the chart. You haven't even started doing the problem yet. You're just trying to find out where the inlet is. So these problems can take a long time. Once you have your coordinates, you go to your chart, and you start looking for those longitude lines, you start looking for those latitude lines, and you start counting across and trying to find out exactly where it is, marking it on your chart, using your parallel rules, and that, once you find where that inlet is, then you have to find the other coordinates, and then you have to start doing the formulas to find out what the problem is. So each problem can take a really long time. But like I said, only 10 questions, and then eventually you'll pass and you'll get your diploma. And you're like, yes, I'm done. I'm finally done. I can get my U.S. Coast Guard certification. That's wrong. That's only the first step. We've only done step number 1. There's plenty more to do. There's all this paperwork here. So I enlisted the services of Diamond Marine Services, and they helped me submit my paperwork. What they did was they sent me a roadmap of all the things I was going to need to do, and they found mistakes on the paperwork before I submitted it, and then they submitted my application for me. So let's talk about that paperwork. First, I had to complete a physical exam. It was 10 pages. I had to go to the doctor, and they even gave me a colorblind test. Yes, that is a 6. Can you see it? 29? Well, if you can see that, and you know this is the 12, then you can pass your physical exam too. The next thing I had to do was take a drug test, and I had to pee in a cup. That's right. They gave me a cup, and I filled it up with urine. They checked my blood to make sure I'm not on crack. And I'm not on crack, so I passed that one as well. Third, this was a tough one. It's your small vessel sea service. You have to document that you've had 360 days on the water, 90 of those days within the last 3 years, and you need to submit information about the boats on which you served. Now, I've owned several boats over the last 10 years, so documenting that time wasn't as difficult. By the way, the John boat doesn't count. Wasn't as difficult, but having that information about the boats was. So I actually called North Carolina Wildlife, and they actually got the paperwork together of all the boats that I had registered and sent me that information, which made my life slightly easier. Lastly, you need to get a TWIC card, which I have right here. It's basically a background check with Homeland Security. You have to go have your fingerprints taken, and that's the documentation you need to do and submit. Now let's take a look at a cost breakdown. Here's a general look of what it cost me. My study materials were around $500 to purchase the Mariners Learning System. My TWIC card cost me about $125. I think it was $125.25. My physical cost me about $85. Now, of course, these prices are going to change depending on where you go and your healthcare coverage. My drug test cost $65. I also had to take a first aid and CPR class, which cost about $75. I was able to do that online. And you have to submit an evaluation fee, which was $165. Altogether, that added up to over $1,000. So here's what worked for me. The Marine Learning System videos worked. I found it very easy to watch the videos. I didn't mind doing the reading. I read along with the video, but I like to watch the videos. It's just the way I like to learn. So that helped. Also, they have an app I got it on both my phone and my iPad, and when I just had some free time or I was sitting around, I could pull out the iPad and take some of the quizzes, or I was in the airport at one point and I had my phone and I just pulled it out and started doing the quizzes. That really helped with the studying, so that was really great. Diamond Marine Services really helped with me. They submitted my paperwork for me. They pointed out things that I had done wrong on the paperwork and corrected those before we submitted it, and then after I submitted it, even when I had problems, they helped out with that as well. So yes, it cost me some more money, but I think it was worth it to get it submitted and get it submitted right. Plus the roadmap they sent me really helped, because I just went down the email, clicked on the links, and was able to schedule my drug tests, do everything I needed to do in a timeline and just go right down the list. And even the forms they sent were filled in as much as they possibly could, so they would send me the forms pre-filled in as much as they could, so it was less for me to fill in. That really helped too. So I'm going to recommend that. Other things that helped: YouTube. YouTube is your friend. In particular, the U.S. Captain's Training. That guy's great. I'll go train with him. I watched all his videos, especially for the chart plotting. So U.S. Captain's Training, look up that YouTube channel, and that'll really help you out as well. So how long does the whole thing take? Well, that's going to be up to you. I mean, I went the online class super slowly. I originally got it in the summer, and I was like, I have all free time in the summer. I'm gonna knock away at it. By the end of the summer, I had only done the first 2 sections, the rules of the road and the general navigation. I think I'd done those 2 sections, and then after that, I was back at work, so it was just like here and there, a couple times a week, but just kind of plodding along. So it took me a little bit longer than it might take you. You might be smarter. But after that, once you get past the class and you take the class, the rest of it can go fairly quickly. You can schedule your drug tests in a week. You can schedule a physical in a week or 2, depending on your doctor. You can schedule for your TWIC card in a week. So that might take maybe give it a month to get all your paperwork in order, but it shouldn't even take that long. And then if you just have that, just to make the appointments and everything, take the CPR class, first aid training, and then so allow for that. And then you submit all the paperwork, and then you got to sit and wait. And that's why I'm sitting by the mailbox right now waiting for this to come in, because it takes a long time for it to go through to get approved by the U.S. Coast Guard. So what next? Well, I've been speaking with a local pontoon tour company, if you can believe it or not, called Tour H2O. They do tours out of Holden Beach and out of Southport, and so hopefully I'm going to be working with them this summer. So do you want to go on a tour? I'll show you where all the nifty sandbars are. We'll catch some crabs. We'll do a little fishing, catch some croaker. Who doesn't like to catch croaker? And what else? I'll show you the dolphins and the eagles too, and maybe a pelican if you get really lucky. So that's my hope, to be able to do that this summer. Hey, I was going to run up and down the ICW anyway, just toting my wife's friends along. I might as well tote somebody else and get paid for it, right? So in review, pass the U.S. Coast Guard approved course, document your 365 days of boating experience, pass your physical and your drug test, take your CPR and your first aid class, and obtain a TWIC card, and then stand by the mailbox and wait. So now we wait. Not yet. Come back tomorrow.